If you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, year one, they rushed for over 208 times. Year two, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome to our midweek edition of NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, one day away from another football game. Of course, we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. Mike Blewett will be with us for the full 30 minutes coming up in about an hour from now, so make sure you stay on the grid for that. Also, Michael DeCourcy from Sporting News weighs in on the National Football League as well. Our resident expert on streaming and sports is, of course, Simon Applebaum of the podcast tomorrow will be televised. He'll give us the latest in terms of ratings and streaming in the National Football League, and a whole lot more. We'll have the latest in baseball as well. Just a couple of weeks left in the regular season. But first, let's start off with the story that feels like we've been going at all year long. It is the biggest story in sports. It is the ability to predict outcomes in sports without calling it sports betting. But I guess Massachusetts doesn't like it very much, and they're saying basically you can't operate in our market without having a license like FanDuel and DraftKings. And they're coming at this company, Robinhood, who you may be familiar with. Robinhood right now says, hey, we should be able to operate just like these other companies, filing a federal lawsuit against the Massachusetts Attorney General and the Gaming Commission, seeking an injunction to prevent the state from shutting them down in the sports event contract trading in Massachusetts, aka the prediction markets. So if other states follow suit like Massachusetts, there's certainly a chance companies like Kalshi and some others would not be able to operate in that state. But as of right now, it looks like it's the wild, wild west, and it continues to operate. We'll get into it with Sam McQuillan later in the show. But Massachusetts, one state as of right now that's saying no. Also, the company that is the daily fantasy company called Sleeper that operates in that space would also like to open up the prediction markets. Of course they can. Of course they should. This is very similar to sports betting, but not quite, except for the Commodities Future Trading Commission, the CFTC, says, nope, you're violating a law, and right now the company says we should be able to operate. So the partner named Joshua Sterling has sent a letter to the Office of the Inspector General for the CFTC and the United States Department of Treasury saying that they should be able to operate just like Kalshi and some of these others. It's a very, very confusing and wild time to be involved in sports betting, and we'll see if Sleeper is able to jump in just like some of these other companies like, of course, Crypto.com and Robinhood and some of these others that are operating these prediction markets as well. We'll see. All right, Tom Brady was in the news yesterday, and probably not for the best reasons. The NFL says Brady did not violate rules for being in the Raiders booth while they were making play calls on offense next to Chip Kelly. Right now, Brady can operate by staying in the Raiders booth and sit in the coaching box. Okay, fine. He's also a broadcaster from Fox, and that means that he'll do the games on Sunday and maybe fly to Vegas to be in the Raiders booth as well. It's kind of crazy. All right, injured reserve for Aaron Jones, which means it's the Jordan Mason show moving forward. The Vikings have now lost their starting quarterback and their starting running back for an extended period of time. The Commanders have signed Preston Smith to bolster their banged-up defense. Right now, the Commanders still wondering if Jaden Daniels is going to play this week. We also found out that one quarterback is not going to play this week. That is Justin Fields. A little bit over 15 minutes ago, the Jets announced that he's still in concussion protocol, so Tyrod Taylor going to start for the Jets this week. The good news for the Buffalo Bills tomorrow night is they will have Josh Allen back starting, despite breaking his nose or injuring his nose in last week's game against the Jets. Allen says he will wear a protective visor on Thursday night.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll probably wear it in the game. Just trying to get used to it.
Going through, what is it like wearing that? How does that impact kind of your vision and stuff?
It doesn't really impact much. It's weird to say, but it's a little warmer in there. Like your voice kind of echoes off of it too, so it's just a little bit weirder.
Quite like that?
I wore one all throughout college. I don't think I've worn one in a game in the NFL. But it's all right. I'm a little bruised up, but we're all good.
Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers on the outside looking in of the AP Top 25. They did not expect that to happen this season. Swinney seems to be, I got to say, losing it a little bit. In his weekly press conference with the media, Swinney says basically the team has been really good in the past, and you have to acknowledge the past, and we've won a lot in the past, so don't worry about the present.
What's so bad about our program? What's so bad about it? What's so bad about the worst season that we've had 14 years? How many programs in college football would sign up for one, and only once, 14 years of 9 wins? How many programs would sign up for that? In the playoffs, so we all talk about, we've been 7 times in 10 years. Who can say that? If we stink because we haven't played for the national championship since January of 20, well, I guess we stink. Or we haven't won it since January of 19. We haven't won the national championship. Well, then I guess we stink. But why are we held to a different standard from all these other teams out there who ain't ever won nothing? We're not perfect, and we may suck this year. We may lay a freaking egg and go 6-6, but I don't think so.
All right, Dabo had a good morning. That's for sure. All right, Florida Gators got into a little skirmish before the game against LSU in their Saturday night affair, and their associate head coach Jabbar Jaluki gets a 3-game ban for participating in that scuffle. That would include this Saturday night when, of course, the University of Miami takes on Florida. Meanwhile, we've got a new favorite to win the Heisman Trophy Award this week. It is Carson Beck of Miami. He's plus 750, followed by John Mateer of Oklahoma. The New York Mets at one point lost 8 straight games. It seems like they've got things going now back in the right track. They've won a couple of games in a row, including beating the Padres thanks to a 5-run first inning yesterday. Final score 8-3. Carlos Mendoza supremely happy the bats have started to get going.
Not really. It was good to get that one on Sunday and get something positive for the off day. But I just thought today, nothing in particular other than really good at bats. Executing a good game plan, and especially against King there from the first inning. But as far as not really, but just like I said, good players going out there and executing.
Obviously, the piggyback situation worked about as well as you could have hoped for. Is that now something that you think you'll plan on rolling out again on Sunday?
Yes, but we still got to talk about whether we want to go the same way with Clay or Sean, or do we start Sean because of the lineups? Looking at the Nationals and some of their lefties at the top, so we got to have those discussions. But that's the plan, to do it again on Sunday.
Diamondbacks are hanging tight in the race for the final wild card behind the Mets. They beat the Giants 6-5. Unfortunately, the Giants seem to be falling further and further back. Here's Bob Melvin.
First inning established early lead, not able to hold on. Just how it feels to have that early lead, get that It's frustrating. It's frustrating. All these games we lose like that are frustrating, especially against a lefty who, we've had trouble against and had a tough time with them last time. To be able to score 4 in the first, get another one in the third. After that, we didn't even feel like we got a base runner. All these losses are frustrating. To lose like that where a ball doesn't, after Carroll doesn't even leave the infield, it's really frustrating. We got to step on the bag at first. Got to make a cleaner play, as far as going by walk. It's just, yeah. Well, yeah, we did some good things too, but, in Flo's case, he's got to get the out at home, so you can understand you're not perfect trying to get, the priority's getting it at home. But, there's a lot of new things for Casey at second base, but one of them is he's got to get on the bag, and obviously he didn't. And that was a huge part of the inning right there.
Dodgers had Shohei Ohtani on the mound yesterday. He threw 5 hitless innings and also hit a home run. Phillies beat the Dodgers. This is Michael DeCourcy.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
He says, you can't get in a position, Tiger, Rory, Justin Thomas, those guys are this tall. You're never gonna be as flexible as them. You got a lot more leverage and like you got a lot of more moving parts than those dudes.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I mean, I think so. You talk about how difficult it is to bring an expansion team into the league and have success in your first season. Like, that's fairly unheard of. And not only have success, but they're in the playoffs. So I think she certainly deserves to win Coach of the Year. There's a lot of different candidates that could potentially, you could make a case for them. But I think just with this being an expansion team and how difficult that is.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I pitched today. It's like 5 in the morning. We hammer it. He tells everyone, listen, I'm telling you guys, Esteban Loaiza is in no condition to pitch tonight. We all hammer it. We bet against the Toronto Blue Jays. We even went to the game, Scott, even. Esteban Loaiza, word of no lie, bro. He threw 8 innings, a one-hit ball.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Michael DeCourcy is with us from Sporting News, and I guess, Mike, smarter person than me, and I don't know about you, came up with this Indiana Jones dubbing of Daniel Jones of the Colts. What a great nickname. I wish that I had that in me to come up with that. The Colts right now are 2-0. They play the Titans this week. They're 3.5-point road favorites. Who had that one back in June or July? Total of 43.5. I mean, there's going to be some upsets at some point this season, Mike. I don't know when it's going to happen in the NFL. The NFL can't just be all favorites winning forever like it's been now for almost a year. but I really like what I've seen from the Colts. They're probably going to play a lot of close games, though, too, I would imagine. They're not going to blow anybody out.
Right. I think that offensively they've made a lot of progress. I mean, you start with Taylor, as strong a running game as you could ask for. Jonathan Taylor's been fantastic in the first couple of games, but I think a lot of people missed on Daniel Jones. A lot of quarterback hungry teams, including one of them being in the city region where I live in Pittsburgh. I liked him last year. I got a chance to see him play against the Steelers in a primetime game, and I thought he was dangerous. And he certainly wasn't perfect, but I thought he was dangerous. And I honestly thought that the Steelers had a lot more trouble dealing with him than they did with Aaron Rodgers in a similar circumstance. I've always thought he has great legs and just needed to be in a great situation. And we didn't necessarily think that Indianapolis was that situation. But then you think about it, and Tyler Warren, the rookie tight end, has been fantastic. Alec Pierce, it gives them a target downfield. They've got a pretty good offensive situation right now. And Jones won the job controversially. And now he's showing why he won the job. It's been a really great start for the Colts. And I think that it gets a little tougher after this week in terms of what you look at when you look at the schedule. But if they can go down and get to 3-0, they will be in fantastic shape, especially in an AFC South that, other than the Colts, is 1-5 on the season.
79% of teams have started the season 2-0 in the last 5 years since they've had this new NFL playoff expanded format have made the playoffs. So we've got the Bills, the Bengals, the Colts, the Chargers, the Eagles, the Packers, the Bucks, 49ers, the Rams, and the Cardinals. I said those all real fast. I know that. And by the way, I said the Colts are not going to blow anybody out. The second that I said it, Mike, I realized they blew the Dolphins out in week 1. Wait a second. What did I just say? Yeah. All right. So Colts have now moved to become the favorite right now in the division. I don't know if you agree with that. I still believe, and I know that last week hurt me bad picking Jacksonville, Mike. Just some really odd stuff happening at the end of that game. But I do think that this could go down to the end with Houston, Jacksonville, and Indianapolis. I guess I have some concerns with the way that Houston has played. It feels like, honestly, with the Texans, I don't know if you agree with this. It feels like they've just picked up where they left off last season. Really boring, really slow, play good defense, and trying to kick a field goal at the end of the game. You're not going to win 12 games like that.
Yeah, I especially, why are you playing like that? That's the question. You've got a tremendous young quarterback who's shown that he can win. He's been in the playoffs 2 years. So why are you playing such a vacant style of offense, so dull? CJ Stroud is a fantastic talent. There are 32 teams in the league. I'm going to say 25 of them would trade their quarterback right now for CJ Stroud. And yet the Texans are doing very little with him. And I know that Tampa Bay is a good, solid defensive team, but that should not have been that style of game on Monday night. And I look at them as kind of a value in that, but probably not enough of a value at plus 250 to do anything with, because they do have to dig out of an 0-2 hole. They should probably, if you wanted to wager on that, you'd probably need a little bit better odds. But I still do think that they're a danger, a threat. Indianapolis with a 2-game lead. I don't think that's nearly enough to say that they're an easy favorite.
Steelers will take on the Patriots. I know, Mike, you'll be watching this game. Can any of these two teams play any defense? I mean, I thought that was the deal with these two teams going into the season. The Steelers don't look good on D. The Patriots don't look good on D. Maybe the play is the over here, 44.5. I'm not really sure. I know these teams are going to get better as the season goes on, but I mean, New England could not stop Miami. The Patriots have now, basically, I think, put themselves in a position where they could win more games if they started playing defense. And for the Steelers, I mean, they tore apart the Jets, and the Jets tore them apart. And then Seattle tore them apart this past week. This is the stunner to me. I just didn't see that happening.
Yeah, the Seattle thing was a little weird because the Steeler defense started terribly from the kickoff, but then they kind of got it together. They went through about 5 possessions in a row where they handled it, got good stops, got off the field, and then things fell apart for them. And Mike Tomlin attributed on Tuesday to fatigue. I guess I'm using the word fatigue. I don't know that he used that word, but
Right.
more or less that they wore down. It was a hot day, but that's not really acceptable. I think part of it as well is that they've been really injured. They've got 7 regulars now that are injured on defense. Now, that doesn't mean they'll all be out this week. Some of them are out. Alex Highsmith, for instance, is described as out. Some of them are trying to make it back, like Derek Harmon, the rookie defensive lineman, Joey Porter, one of their good young corners. But schematically, they don't have a real handle on what they want to do. They can't stop the run. And in the defensive backfield, they came into the year with this idea that they were going to play kind of a free-flowing deal, but they can't define it. They haven't been able to cover receivers consistently because I don't think anybody knows what they're supposed to do.
It's crazy to see, but I have a feeling the Steelers D will be okay. I'm not sure about the Patriots, though. I mean, for them to allow Miami to do what they did this past week, just constantly throwing it over the middle, I mean, that's their game plan. It's been like that, and they allowed it to happen. All right, real quick, you want to flip a coin on this one? Bengals, Vikings. Vikings -2.5. You pick the quarterback. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I like Browning better, but is that saying a lot?
Yeah, I like Browning better, and I like Jamar Chase a lot. I mean, I know Justin Jefferson's fantastic, but the Bengals got it done even with Browning in there on Sunday. So I kind of like that.
+2.5, says Mike. All right, Mike, have a good weekend. Thanks for coming on. Down.
I pitched today. It's like 5 in the morning. We hammer it. He tells everyone, listen, I'm telling you guys, Esteban Loaiza is in no condition to pitch tonight. We all hammer it. We bet against the Toronto Blue Jays. We even went to the game, Scott, even. Esteban Loaiza, word of no lie, bro. He threw 8 innings, a one-hit ball.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
They trade Marina Mabry, then they turn around, and then obviously they fire Teresa Weatherspoon, and it's been a hot mess. You go and, draft Cardozo and Reese, basically 2 of the same player, meaning bigs that can't step out and shoot. So it's a little bit of a clown show when you talk about the Chicago Sky.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
He says, you can't get in a position, Tiger, Rory, Justin Thomas, those guys are this tall. You're never gonna be as flexible as them. You got a lot more leverage and you got a lot of more moving parts than those dudes.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I like the shadows coming in, Neyland Stadium. Show
High
me those
school,
3:30.
Joe,
Back
we
in the
played
day,
all our games
Yeah.
on Saturdays. Maybe one
Yeah.
or 2 games on a Friday night away. I always loved that. Same thing at college.
yeah.
Hated Friday night football games in college.
I don't like. I understand why they do it prime time, and we have to play. But going back to when we grew up, Keith Jackson.
Yeah.
Action.
Throw another pancake on that plate. Yeah, let's
That's
go,
it.
Keith Jackson. That's my guy here.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Battle for Florida, Saturday night between the Miami Hurricanes and Florida Gators. We'll hear from Mario Cristobal. Also, what will Michigan look like without Sharon Moore coaching this week? And also, 2 top 20 teams facing off inside of the Big Ten. It's time now for the Sports Grid Sound Off. Well, the game last year in Gainesville was no contest as the University of Miami and Cam Ward throttled the Florida Gators, so much so that people were calling for the firing of Billy Napier. Where here we are, 1 year later, feels like the same thing is happening, except these two teams did not face off at the beginning of the season. We're headed toward this week where they will. It's probably the biggest game on Miami's schedule because of the fact that they get to claim, if they win, that they are the state champions. So Mario Cristobal says that's exactly what's on the line this week at Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah, the state championship in the state of Florida is always going to be one of the highest goals that we have. These guys play against each other. The fan bases, alumni bases, they're at it all off season. There's a lot of there's deep meaning to it. So certainly very prominent in terms of that. I think so. I think the combination of continuity in the right spots and change in the right spots, as well as acquiring the right type of talent and really mature mentalities as it relates to being a professional in your approach to the game, understanding what lies on the other side if you don't prepare at the highest level, if you don't treat every single game and every single opponent with the same amount of respect. So that's contagious. So what you see is I think guys are playing more and more, not only together, but for each other. And we've got a long ways to go, but we certainly have come a long way from that standpoint, and we'll continue working on a mentality until it looks exactly the way it should look.
Miami at least a touchdown favorite in every book coming up this week. All right, the Sharon Moore coaching era takes a pause this week as he is temporarily suspended from coaching Michigan. Of course, he'll be back real soon. So get ready to see a lot of Biff Poggi on the sidelines. He is the interim coach for the Wolverines as they travel to take on Nebraska this week. And of course, the Big Ten, always a big game when these two teams play. Here is the opportunity from Poggi to win his first time out.
Yeah, it's got a lot of great teams, doesn't it? And it is huge. Probably that's the way the future is going to be in conference alignment in football. But the league is ridiculous. It's incredible. Anybody can beat anybody. And, Nebraska watched all their tape, and I think they're really good. They have a really good football team. It's interesting. I realized I know so many guys on the staff. When I was a coach at Charlotte, the first day I was in my seat there, the first phone call I got was from Matt Rule, welcoming me to Charlotte, and was so kind and welcoming and helpful. And then Dana Holgerson, I coached his son for a bit at St. Francis. Ron Brown, Bill Bush. I know a bunch of the guys there, so it'll be good to see them. But they've done a really good job with their team.
Speaking of the Big Ten, Brett Bielema, no stranger to that when he was at Wisconsin, had a lot of success. Not as much at Illinois, but right now, this is the best shot that Bielema has had to win the Big Ten in a long time, because the Illini are the number 9 team in the country as they travel to take on number 19 Indiana. What a great top 25 matchup. Here's Bielema on this week's game.
This football team, offensively, defensively, and special teams, I think, are as well a coach as anybody will see. They definitely have complimentary football written all over it. Just the way they play, the way they talk, the way they communicate. Just very, very impressive group to watch overall. So we got our work cut out for us. I'm excited to get over there and know it'll be a good environment. I think Brent he gave me the stat that it's the first time the 2 ranked Illinois and Indiana teams have gone against each other since 1950. I was shocked at that. I remember being a player against Indiana. I think they had a running back named Thompson. I'll go to the living legend. Is that right? Was a really good player. I think, and obviously when they had Antoine Randall was an exceptional football talent. So, and then the last time we went over there, obviously the fallout from that game, was one that really hurt us and stung. But hopefully, we're going to be better prepared on Saturday. I think we got a lot of really good football players who know how to play and have been excited to start Big Ten play, and we'll get that going this Saturday. So.
And coming up next, we'll be joined by Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report for the very latest on sports betting going on across the country. You're watching NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We'll be right back with Sam.
They have Boise State, they have Arkansas, they have USC. There's no shot in Purdue. Those are the only big games that they have the rest of the way. They're not getting back into the college football playoff. They're not, Donnie. I don't care if they've won 10 straight.
Remember when they lost to NIU? No way, no care. What happens the rest of the season? They can't get in. Who was in the college football championship last year?
But they had
Notre
marquee
Dame.
wins at some point
I don't
last
care.
year.
They lost to NIU.
Sports Grid's College Football Today.
I needed a mental break when the season was over. Because it's a lot. It's a lot. You get tired of training. But, man, I never get tired of playing golf. I love it. I mean, every course is different. Every day is different. And some days you're like, oh, I got this. I got it. Then you go out there and shoot a 95 the next day. I'm like, damn.
The Smiley Show. Only on Sports Grid.
I mean, I think so. You talk about how difficult it is to bring an expansion team into the league and have success in your first season. Like, that's fairly unheard of. And not only have success, but they're in the playoffs. So I think she certainly deserves to win Coach of the Year. There's a lot of different candidates that could potentially, you could make a case for them. But I think just with this being an expansion team and how difficult that is.
Betting above the rim. Only on Sports Grid.
It was nice to see that even though they couldn't follow the same blueprint as last season, or just the way that everyone thought their offense was going to run this year, Josh Jacobs struggled and Jordan Love stepped up. And if you're a Packer fan, that's what you were hoping to see, is that in the moments where you can't rely on the run, can the quarterback that you invested a lot of money into, now draft capital, putting weapons around him, rise to the occasion, and he did.
Game time decisions. Only on Sports Grid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on Sports Grid. Great to have Sam McQuillan in the house. You can read more of Sam's work over at LegalSportsReport.com. And Sam, of course, locked into everything happening with the start of the football season, both college and pro. Great to have Sam on. And so, Sam, I know downloads are down a little bit for the sports betting apps, of course, across the United States, because we just have no legalized sports betting states this year outside of Missouri, and we have to wait till December for that. But what are the numbers showing thus far as the two leaders are concerned? Is there a big discrepancy between FanDuel and DraftKings in this point? And also, the bottom line, is there anyone viable in third place with a chance to jump over the two leaders?
Right, so it's a lot to unpack right there. Week one, of course, downloads were down for every sportsbook not named Bet365 or Fanatics. You know, those were our newer sports books to the race, so they're working from a smaller kind of pool from last year, have launched in more states, launched more promos. But good news for the sports books this week is the apps, the download numbers, which had been on the decline, actually increased by 34% this past week of football. So numbers bounce up after a slower start. Again, you mentioned that we don't have any new sports betting states on the onset of the NFL this year. We do, of course, have more people that turn 21 every year. So that's, of course, a little bit responsible for the bump there. And you also had the Canelo Crawford fight, which I think a lot of people in the industry believe attracted a lot of new bettors, a lot of casual bettors. The fight was on Netflix. So you're working from that pool last week as opposed to week one of the NFL where you don't have as much. Now, as far as who's in the lead and who's benefiting where we're going from here, DraftKings overtook FanDuel for the top spot. They're now the most downloaded sportsbook this NFL season with about 750,000 downloads. Really interesting when you look at the third and the fourth spot. You have Bet365 and Fanatics, which were, again, that first week, they were the only sportsbooks that grew. The good news for the other sportsbooks in terms of downloads this week is even when you take out Fanatics and Bet365, app downloads still grew about 20% across the board overall. So it's no longer where these apps are kind of outliers pulling those numbers forward. On the actual game outcome front and how they're doing this NFL season, it's not a great start. You actually had a report come out today that the Ravens versus the Bills, the first Sunday night football game, was the single worst game outcome in DraftKings history. So they're reeling from that. Obviously, the game went over. A lot of people bet on the Bills live when they were down. Bills completed the comeback. A lot of popular player props have cashed as well. Just this past week, you had about 80% of the games, I believe, go over, which again is not good for the sports books. This is all stuff that gets looked at as well as the app data and the download data for how they're kind of doing overall this year. You kind of have them holding at about 8% right now, which isn't great. They're targeting about 10% on the season. So investors are going to want to see some more improvement there as well. But definitely encouraged by the app downloads. Week 2 seems to have gone a little bit better from the game standpoints versus week 1. So it's not quite a success story where they're turning everything around, but it definitely wasn't as bad a start to the week as it was for week 1, where they kind of were starting from that lower standpoint. So going forward, I think we're just going to have more attention paid to the game outcomes from a stock standpoint. You have DraftKings down about 7% from the start of the season, which a lot of Wall Street investors predicted this year more than ever we're going to have the game outcomes really matter. FanDuel down about 7% as well. So it's something we're going to keep monitoring every week on this show and talk about kind of how the app downloads are moving and then how the sports books are doing as well, from a profit standpoint week to week.
Yeah, it is great insight. It's also strange to me that through 2 weeks of the NFL season, we really haven't had any big upsets again in the NFL. I would have to think that would normalize, but it's almost back to where we were a year ago. Okay, so the biggest difference in sports betting from a year ago is if you live in Texas and California, you can't bet legally on sports, but you could pop up Kalshi and some of these other prediction markets and kind of do the same thing. And it looks like, Sam, to me, that Kalshi in particular has decided, hey, no one's stopping us, so let's throw some more props on our board and our app as well. And so the story that just keeps growing is growing even more in terms of finances. And by adding more props, it's only going to mean more money for them, right?
Yeah, 100%. They've done a ton of business so far in the NFL, so it's no surprise, every week they're making more steps to grow the business even more. You had just this week, Kalshi submitted a self-certification filing with the CFTC, which will allow it at some point, could be tomorrow, could be, this weekend, to start offering player props on passing yards, rushing yards, pretty much everything that you see at a sports book. Now, Kalshi already offered touchdown props, but that was it. You didn't have the robust menu of betting options that you have at a sports book. So, just a week ago, we were talking about how they changed their entire interface to include spreads, money lines, and totals in kind of a box format that really looks a lot like a sports book. And it's funny, Craig, too, you mentioned that, in California and Texas, where there is no legal sports betting, you actually have Kalshi putting ads out there saying that sports betting is legal in California, sports betting is legal in Texas, as long as you bet with Kalshi. So you have they're kind of talking on both sides of their mouth. Where on the marketing end of things, they want to be a sports betting product. They're certainly, from a technological standpoint, trying to become more and more of a sports book. But then you have on the flip side, the regulatory front, where you have several states, including Nevada, New Jersey, Maryland, all suing to stop Kalshi. Massachusetts recently as well, saying that, hey, what you're doing is unlicensed sports betting and you need to go through us first in order to do it. In California, you have the tribes have sued there as well. Obviously, sports betting isn't legal in that state. In the meantime, you have judges so far ruling in favor of Kalshi, saying that, this is regulated by the CFTC until the CFTC declares that these are markets that we cannot be offering and that these actually should be under the states. Then you can kind of go ahead and let the lawsuits play out. So the backdrop of that is Kalshi investing more and more. They've made some key hires in the gaming business. You had their competitors jump in as well. Polymarket planning to re-enter the U.S. with a very similar product. Underdog Fantasy, now Underdog Sports, doing the same thing with a sports prediction market that just launched last week under partnership with Crypto.com. So kind of the story here is they're going to keep expanding. And next week we could be talking about them adding parlays and who knows what after that. And in the meantime, kind of regulation is struggling to keep up.
Yeah, I'm very curious how the year ends with these prediction markets. I know in less than 90 days, we're going to have a legalized sports betting market in Missouri. December 1st is the launch date. Are we clear exactly which sports betting operators, Sam, at this point will launch on that day?
Yeah, it looks to be the major 8 that you see in pretty much every state. That's the DraftKings, the FanDuels, the Caesars, the BetMGMs. ESPN Bet hasn't quite completed their application process yet, but we're rounding out the date when they need to, and they're expected to join in as well in Missouri, which again will be the only state that launches sports betting this year. So it's going to be a little bit different than in the past when maybe you had 10 states launch in one year and some operators kind of tried to prioritize their presence in different markets, tried to rationalize their promo spending because they were giving out tons of money. That's a lot different now because you only have this one state. Missouri obviously is home to some, very valuable sports teams, some sports teams that garner a lot of interest, especially the Kansas City Chiefs. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of how the market shapes up ahead of the launch, and especially when we only have, a couple states on the board left to legalize sports betting. So over these next few months before December, you're going to have them going through the, all the application process, them figuring out what you can bet and can't bet in the state, which will be key. I'm in a state like New York where you can't bet on things that are decided by, opinion awards like MVP or Coach of the Year. So we're going to be able to find out whether or not that happens in Missouri pretty soon. So we'll take a look at how their market is shaping up in the coming weeks. And a lot of that is from the feedback that these sports books are going to give. But so far you have all the major ones really interested in Missouri, which again, isn't a huge state, but it'll be pretty important because it's the only one this year.
Agree. All right, Sam. Great stuff as always. Have a great rest of your week. We'll catch up again. Will I see you Friday? Are you back here Friday?
You will see me Friday, God willing.
Okay, so I'll see you then. Thanks, Sam, for coming on. Appreciate it. All right, real quick, some big news from the National Football League. NFL Network is reporting that Dan Quinn, the head coach of the Washington Commanders, says that Jaden Daniels will not practice today and he will not practice tomorrow. And only Friday at the earliest. So some optimism that we thought yesterday for Jaden Daniels is out the window. It looks like Marcus Mariota could be yet another backup quarterback getting a start in the National Football League this week. All right, we'll take a timeout. Simon Applebaum will join us. We'll talk Prime Video Thursday night and also YouTube National.
They have Boise State, they have Arkansas, they have USC. There's no shot in Purdue. Those are the only big games that they have the rest of the way. They're not getting back into the college football playoff. They're not, Donnie. I don't care if they've won 10 straight.
Remember when they lost to NIU? No way, no care. What happens the rest of the season? They can't get in. Who was in the college football championship last year?
But they had
Notre
marquee
Dame.
wins at some point.
I don't care. They lost to NIU.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I needed a mental break when the season was over. Because it's a lot. It's a lot. You get tired of training. But, man, I never get tired of playing golf. I love it. I mean, every course is different. Every day is different. And some days you're like, oh, I got this. I got it. Then you go out there and shoot a 95 the next day. I'm like, damn.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, I think so. You talk about how difficult it is to bring an expansion team into the league and have success in your first season. That's fairly unheard of. And not only have success, but they're in the playoffs. So I think she certainly deserves to win Coach of the Year. There's a lot of different candidates that could potentially, you could make a case for them. But I think just with this being an expansion team and how difficult that is.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
It was nice to see that even though they couldn't follow the same blueprint as last season or just the way that everyone thought their offense was going to run this year, Josh Jacobs struggled and Jordan Love stepped up. And if you're a Packer fan, that's what you were hoping to see, is that in the moments where you can't rely on the run, can the quarterback that you invested a lot of money into, now draft capital, putting weapons around him, rise to the occasion, and he did.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Great to have Simon Applebaum in the house from the podcast Tomorrow Will Be Televised to weigh in on the latest streaming ratings and television ratings. I feel like streaming is now before television ratings these days. Simon, great to have you back here on the show. We've got a little news here, a lot of news here. Let's start off with Thursday Night Football and Amazon Prime. They certainly jumped in a couple of years ago, feeling really good about their chances, getting big streaming ratings and making a lot of money, and I think they're on track, aren't they?
They certainly are, Craig, and great to be back. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of happy faces at Prime Video and its parent company, Amazon. The first Thursday Night Football game of their season was this past Thursday, and they got 17 million plus, and that is the best viewership they have had in the run of TNF. More than that, the internet and social media response to it was terrific. A lot of people felt that Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit have now really come into their own as a play-by-play team and commentator team. And a lot of people thought that Michaels may have done his best performance since joining the Thursday Night Football bunch 4 years ago. That's not the only, by the way, viewership news. We told you last week about YouTube, the exclusive game that they had a week ago Friday. And as it turned out, the game was viewed by more people than first thought. We told you at the time that last week that YouTube had, according to Nielsen, 17 million people watching, about 16 million in the United States, a million more outside. Well, they actually did a second viewership study, and they found out, what do you know? More people are watching, like 19.7 million people, 18.5 U.S., and 1.2 million people overseas. And that got the ire of both Fox and Disney. Basically, YouTube saying, hey, we were undercounted originally by Nielsen. This is the best count. And Fox and Disney are saying, no, you don't. Your way of measuring the viewership is not accredited by any major rating agency, so we don't believe you. So there's a little bit of a brouhaha between what YouTube is talking about with Nielsen and what Fox and Disney are arguing. But the bottom line is that both Thursday Night Football and the YouTube game exclusively did very well. And by the way, yesterday at the Front Office Sports Tuned In event here in New York, the head of Amazon Sports was asked by Mike McCarthy, are you at some point going to carry the Super Bowl exclusively? And guess what the executive said? Yes. Now, that is going to take a long time to do because of regulatory issues, because of the NFL's antitrust situation. About Congress could get involved with this, but apparently the Amazon Prime Video people are thinking, hey, maybe somewhere down the line, we could get the Super Bowl and we could bring it to people exclusively.
Yeah, that would be something. I don't see that happening in the next decade or so, Simon, but who's to say? In this day and age of streaming, we could be streaming everything in 10 years. Who knows? All right, so really strong idea here from the Atlantic Coast Conference to take you a little bit more behind the scenes in terms of reviews. I don't want to spoil the story, Simon, but it's a really good idea, I think, that was executed in a good way.
It was an excellent idea, Craig, and this is something that the National Football League and every college football conference should do. The game was Clemson and Georgia Tech. It was the noon game on ESPN. Bob Wischusen and Louis Riddick had the call. And what happened was that every time that in the past, when you saw the official on a review of a call, go and check that replay stand that's on the field and talk to people in the operations center for the conference or for the NFL, you wouldn't hear them. Well, on Saturday, that taboo was broken. What you saw was the referee, when there was a controversial call that needed to be reviewed, when the referee went to that replay stand, you saw the Atlantic Coast Conference Operations Center, and you heard the back and forth between the referee and the person there. And you also saw replays that they had at the center that actually justified, hey, maybe you should overturn the call. And you saw the replays that you might not have seen otherwise. Bob Wischusen was very ecstatic about the situation. He thought it was terrific. So did Riddick, and I think the viewer response was excellent. This is something that, frankly, the National Football League and every college football conference, big and small, should adopt. I think it's great for the viewer. It makes more transparency for the games, and it makes people understand here's why the calls turn out the way they do.
Let's get now to this new NBA idea, and I wonder about this when I heard it, the on-the-bench commentator experiment. What exactly is this going to mean on Peacock this NBA season?
This is something that has never been done before. Normally, when you see a sports telecast, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, etc., you have the play-by-play person sitting next to the commentator or the analyst. Well, Peacock, with their NBA coverage on Monday nights, is going to change that. They're going to try this experiment. It's called On the Bench. And what's going to happen is they're going to have two commentators. One will be with one team on the sidelines, one will be with the other team on the sidelines, and they will be back and forth with the play-by-play person to give us inside information. You might say they're going to be embedded with the team, not just for the game, but also for shoot-arounds, maybe for meetings prior to the game, and it's to be very, very interesting how this is going to work. But the first game, by the way, is going to be in late October. Noah Eagle's going to call the game. Robbie Hummel is going to be with one team, and Austin Rivers is going to be another team. That game, by the way, is going to be Cleveland versus Detroit, the Cavaliers versus the Pistons. It's going to be very interesting to see how this unique format of play-by-play and commentary is going to go. There may be some technical things to work out because, again, they are not going to be together. They're going to be on the sidelines, one with one team, one with the other. So there may be a little bit of a technical situation with audio, video, and so forth. But I think this is something worth doing. NBC and NBC Sports had the habit in recent years of doing unique innovations like the Inside the Box with the National Hockey League, things with horse racing, things with motorcycle sports. So keep your eye on this. By the way, this will be all the Peacock games on Monday night, about 26 of them throughout the season. Again, it starts, I believe, on October 27th. By the way, the games on Peacock on Monday night will be on starting at 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock Eastern Time.
Simon, before we go, can we get a little summary? I know Ion TV has been jumping more into broadcasting women's sports. Have they revealed how that's going to look this fall?
Yes, they have. First of all, we told you last week that they're going to be doing a women's track and field meet here in New York in October. Then in late October, they're going to be doing the first ever Sports Illustrated Women's Games, which is a multi-night competition, multi-sports, sort of like a women's Olympics, if you will. And then they're going to have a college basketball preseason tournament involving women's teams. And they're not the only folks. They're going to try to make Ion more of a women's sports network. We now know that Versant is going to make USA Network more of a women's sports network. They're going to carry WNBA games. They're going to carry LPGA golf, and they announced earlier this week they're going to be carrying League One volleyball, the new Women's Pro Volleyball League. They're going to do a women's game of the week on Wednesday nights. They're going to carry the championship game as well as the playoff games. So it seems that Versant, the new home for the NBC Universal Cable channels, is going to turn USA into more of a women's sports and an all-sports network.
Simon, as always, great stuff. We'll catch the new podcast when you launch it. Tomorrow will be televised. Thanks again for coming on the show.
You're welcome, Craig. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Be right back.
They have Boise State, they have Arkansas, they have USC. There's no shot in Purdue. Those are the only big games that they have the rest of the way. They're not getting back into the college football playoff. They're not, Donnie. I don't care if they've won 10 straight.
Remember when they lost to NIU? No way, no care. What happens the rest of the season? They can't get in. Who was in the college football championship last year?
But they had marquee wins at some point.
I don't care. They lost to NIU.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I needed a mental break when the season was over. Like, because it's a lot. It's a lot. You get tired of training. But, man, I never get tired of playing golf. I love it. I mean, every course is different. Every day is different. And like, some days you're like, oh, I got this. I got it. Then you go out there and shoot a 95 the next day. I'm like, damn.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, I think so. You talk about how difficult it is to bring an expansion team into the league and have success in your first season. Like, that's fairly unheard of. And not only have success, but they're in the playoffs. So I think she certainly deserves to win Coach of the Year. There's a lot of different candidates that could potentially, you could make a case for them. But I think just with this being an expansion team and how difficult that is.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
It was nice to see that even though they couldn't follow the same blueprint as last season or just the way that everyone thought their offense was going to run this year, Josh Jacobs struggled and Jordan Love stepped up. And if you're a Packer fan, that's what you were hoping to see, is that in the moments where you can't rely on the run, can the quarterback that you invested a lot of money into, now draft capital, putting weapons around him, rise to the occasion, and he did.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. A couple of big stories in the NFL before we get to our friends at Front Office Sports. Looks like we could be seeing another couple of backup quarterbacks playing in the NFL this week. We know that Tyrod Taylor is officially in for the New York Jets, as Aaron Glenn told reporters that Justin Fields in concussion protocol is out, and it also appears that Jaden Daniels, no decision on him may be made until game time. He's not going to practice today or tomorrow. Now, let's get to the great front office sports conference, which they've had a lot of different folks from the sports industry. The latest one was Premier Lacrosse League co-founder Paul Rabel discussing the future of what lacrosse could potentially look like. Here is a quick clip in terms of what they may see in the future for lacrosse.
So for that and so much more, let's bring in the co-founder and president of PLL, Paul Rabel. Paul, good to have you here in studio with us. Congratulations on another great year for you guys at PLL. Tell us about the championship this weekend. Big news here.
Well, first, it's great to be back with you guys. Championship week, now we call it, because of the activations we're doing from start to finish. It's going to be at Sports Illustrated Stadium, newly named, formerly the Red Bull Arena. We're expecting a huge crowd, 12:30 on ABC. Two of the best teams I've seen in the professional ranks in a long time. #1 seed in the East, #1 seed in the West. We have the New York Atlas, so you get a last-minute home crowd push, which is really cool against the Denver Outlaws. We're just ecstatic.
Yeah, and when you have a championship week and a large crowd that you're anticipating, it's off the heels of all the great work you guys have done with investments and growth in the league, including the partnership and the stakeholder of ESPN.
Yes.
I'm curious, how involved, I mean, obviously there's a lot more in the future with ESPN. How involved have they been? What's this relationship been like? And how has it really helped the PLL?
They're super involved, and your media partner is your biggest and most important. And you think about our league and the season year over year strategically with them. And now that they are investors as well, and we just did a new 5-year media rights deal, a lot goes on behind the scenes that makes this all worth it. When you see viewership up year over year, a lot of it is attributed to our partnership with ESPN. So you think about game windows, you think about lead-in programming, you think about promoting programming, all the stuff that ESPN can bring to the table, including digital and social and streaming. So getting a window like ABC will help boost our ratings and the awareness and validation of the product, and they've just been extraordinary to work with.
And obviously this also comes on the heels of really big announcement on the women's side of things. We knew that there was a women's lacrosse league for some of the tournaments, but now we actually have a full season coming up next year. Tell us about this big news here.
Well, that's also part of our conversations with ESPN as we work with their research and data team that's led by Shara Lynn, and we understand the goals and objectives in Bristol for ESPN, and women's sports is big, and it's backed by great reception from fans of the games that are out there, whether it's basketball, soccer, or now lacrosse. So we sat with them a year ago and explored beyond the championship series for the WLL. What would a summer season look like? What type of inventory could we get? And they were super encouraging around the women's game. And what we've seen in our industry is incredible growth over the last decade at girls' youth participation. At the collegiate level, there's double the amount of Division I programs, the women's side and the men's side, and then they're in the Olympics for the first time in history come LA 28. So these big macro data points, and they just don't have a pro league. You have huge stars like Charlotte North, who's sort of the queen of lacrosse, and then you have emerging stars down in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, like Chloe Humphrey, who won the Tour as a freshman. So getting an opportunity to work on the women's side of the game is extra special.
And I love that with this expansion, there's a draft, there's more players, there's more opportunities.
Yes.
So, Paul, you're at the core of all this for men's, women's lacrosse, the Olympics, as you mentioned, coming up soon. What is next for lacrosse? I mean, you're doing so much to continue to grow the game in terms of investments. What else can we expect?
Well, as you guys know, when we started the league, we were touring, and we had 6 teams in no city affiliation because we needed to learn a lot. At the time in 2019, there were 15 million lacrosse fans, according to an MRI Simmons report. Now there are 48 million. So this touring model, growth from 6 to 8 teams, putting the 8 teams into cities, bringing on the WLL, that's helped us grow. I would say the next stage over the next several years is going to be looking at a home and away model for the first time. And does that unlock individual ownership? Do we go down that path of selling teams? You have to be ambitious and you have to be sober in projections. And getting that balance right, fortunately for us, has been around the mark of where we are today.
Congratulations on all the success. We know next week there'll be something good happening, and the week after that, another big thing happening with you guys. So always amazing to see what's happening with PLL.
Great stuff from Front Office Sports. You can catch them later today here on SportsGrid. Up next, Mike Blewett joins us from In-Game Live Pro Football to break down Thursday night's football game between the Dolphins and Bills. You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid, and we'll be right back after this.
outside of Portrush. Hard to imagine how it gets any better in terms of an individual year for Rory McIlroy. Just such good stuff from him.
Oh, totally. It's, it's kind of wild to me. You just go through that incredible list of venues that he's won at, and then, of course, throw in the Irish Open to be the fourth. It hit hard to believe that he has not won since April. And we talk about this incredible year that he's had.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Who wants to go to Chicago in February for a Super Bowl? Hey, the NFL can host outdoor parties on Lake Michigan. Stop the madness at this point. But now I take a look at the Denver Broncos. Always fun in the Mile High City. Why? Because what a home field advantage. It's at elevation. It's going to be cold. It might snow, and Denver's going to have that advantage. You know what Denver goes? We're going to build a world-class facility that's going to be a dome.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We got Mike Blewett with us from In Game Live Pro Football. You can catch Mike and the team every single Sunday here on SportsGrid. They take you through all of the early and late games. Let's bring Mike in, because before we get to Sunday, we got to get through Thursday Night Football, by the way, coming up fast and furious tomorrow night. Mike, great to have you back here on NewsWire. Let's dive right in. Bills big favorites tomorrow night against the Dolphins. 11.5 is the line. 11 in some spots, maybe 12 in some others. Fluctuated a little bit. Total 49.5 in this game. Hard to lay this kind of points in the National Football League, but do you really trust anything you've seen with the Dolphins this season? What do you make of this game?
I do not trust anything I see with the Dolphins. Now, a couple of key defenders going to be out for the Bills, and Matt Milano and Ed Oliver may not ring the bell for this one. So I think the Bills are going to be shorthanded. Obviously, I think the short week plays into their absence. I think the Bills are trying to keep those two guys as healthy as possible, especially since Milano has had a series of injuries over the last few seasons. And given that the total is 49.5, which is fairly high, with a spread of 11.5, that gets hard to justify that, right? Craig, a lower scoring blowout is hard to justify in the betting market. What I would say is I'm likely to attack this on the Bills' offensive side. So looking at Josh Allen props and Bills scoring props, I think is the best way to attack this. But do I think the Dolphins are a lock to cover this? Definitely not. I think they're clearly a mess. The other day, obviously aided by a kick return, so their point total looks better than it should have been. We already know about the players only meeting after week 1, which is a really bad sign. We've saw a million mistakes from them offensively, defensively, and special teams. And I think all of the chatter about Mike McDaniel's job, while it may have seemed premature to some, is probably real. I don't know what the Dolphins' capacity is to move on from him early, but they have to put in better performances than they've done so far.
Yeah, they would have about 10 days to the next game if they lose in Buffalo and decided to make a move such as that. So we would see. You mentioned Josh Allen's props. His passing total tomorrow night is 233.5 on FanDuel. We've got Tua's at 238.5, and Sounds like you're leaning toward maybe the over on Allen. You know what I would say about Tua is that if the Bills' game plan on defense is like the Patriots, then Tua's going to fly over this thing. I don't know what the Patriots, Mike, were doing, letting Tua just have his way over the middle of the field. I mean, it's the only thing that this guy has been very successful at, and yet they were like, okay, just go ahead and do that against us last week. Odd game plan from the Patriots defensively.
Correct, and they got a big break to win that game too. That was, the back-to-back kick return touchdowns is not something you see every day. To your point on the passing props, though, if the Dolphins are going to be trailing consistently in this game, regardless of what they're able to do to Tua to contain him, I don't know that they'll contain him under 240 yards. I think the Dolphins will have to throw. The loss of Ed Oliver and of Matt Milano could change the Dolphins' game plan to some extent, but I do expect them to lose this game and be trailing. So that leads me to more passing attempts from Tua. To be honest, on the props, when you look at some of the rushing props too, you're going to have Josh Allen 29.5 yards. I could see him contributing in that area as well as with a touchdown, more so than maybe this could be a muted passing performance by Allen. But I'm willing to discuss any overs for Josh Allen against this Miami defense. I just think that Tua is more likely to have more passing attempts.
A rare football game in the NFL. Maybe it'll be a little more commonplace this week with the backup quarterbacks playing so many teams in the NFL, but rare to see all of these low props for receivers, Mike, and tight ends in this game between Miami and Buffalo because of two things. Number one, Miami's had a hard time getting the ball to Tyreek Hill. And number two, with the Bills, you just don't know who's going to get the ball. So I want to show you these. Tyreek Hill's numbers at the beginning of last year were in the 90s, by the way, for his over-under on receiving. He was a decent game last week, so he's 64.5, which is up, I believe, from 62 last week. Shakir's is 40. Keon Coleman's is 42. These are coin flip guys. Jalen Waddle, another coin flip guy at 50.5, and then Dalton Kincaid at 29.5. And this is sort of the element, especially with Buffalo, that no matter who you like, you're basically saying to yourself, Mike, if I get this right, I may win by a lot. And if I don't, I'm going to get myself crushed, which you don't say a lot with player props, but you just can't predict who Allen is going to feed in any game in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally true. Shakir has a touchdown off a tip, and Coleman has a touchdown off the tip in week one. And I think Coleman and Shakir both are players that you like, you want to bet on, you'd like to see some consistency, but it just hasn't really happened to date. I think the Dalton Kincaid numbers are muted because there's also some Dawson Knox numbers that come in there on not every week, but they come in there to help mute what these lines are set at. I think anytime, though, that you have a player and it's something, Craig, you and I talked about a lot in the DFS space, and you certainly see it here. Anytime a player of this caliber, and I would apply that to both Miami receivers of this caliber, gets to a point where you're betting, like you said, 30 yards less than where his lines looked a year ago, I think that's value. I think it's value on both sides. Of course, there's an opportunity for them to miss, but it is more likely than not that over the course of the year, Tyreek Hill is going to be consistently over 65 yards. So I think when these lines get down to a point, it's almost an auto bet, and you're willing to take your chances. I like the overs on both Miami receivers. Like I said earlier, I think Buffalo will try to control the ball and keep Miami off the field, but when they're out there, I think Miami's going to be throwing. So I like both of those.
Yeah, and Hill did go way over last week, although he was aided by a 30-yard catch that, if I'm not mistaken, I think I was watching this game where both defenders didn't realize the ball was in front of them and ran past him, and he had to come back and catch it. So that wasn't like they connected on anything. It was just the nature of the beast. So we'll be having Buffalo discussions, by the way, of going 17-0 like we do with one team every year. It'll be them because they play the Dolphins, the Saints, the Patriots, the Falcons, and they're on a bye, and then they get the Carolina Panthers. I don't think any team will go 17-0, but that is the nature of the beast in the NFL. All right, so Mike, real quick, we just got word about an hour ago, Justin Fields officially out. Tyrod Taylor back as a starter in the NFL again. It's the Bills, it's the Jets, it's Houston. I mean, this guy is just keeps finding work. It's good for him, but the Bucks are big favorites this week. Total of 6.5, total 44.5. Am I crazy in thinking I'm going to go back to the Jets again after I saw what I saw last week? I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm probably going to do it again. I gotta believe at some point some dog is going to come through in the NFL.
Here's the positive. I'll give you the positive outlook for the Jets for this week. If you're watching that Tampa Texans game the other night, you realize that both of those offensive lines are a disaster. The Bucks are piecing it together. Tristan Wirfs has been out. They lost Gedeke and another lineman in the middle of the game. So can the Jets get any kind of push to put pressure on Baker? Baker obviously couldn't even be contained at the end of that game, made a huge fourth down run to extend that game and get them to win, to be honest. So that's the positive for the Jets. They have the opportunity to put pressure on Baker. But on the flip side, can they put any pressure on the Bucks defense? I don't know that they can. It is, like you said, a fairly big spread. Bucks coming off an emotional win, but I think Jets fans will be wishing for a week one like performance for the rest of the year, and I don't know that they're going to get it.
Anybody who bets the Jets and loses this week is not going to want to bet them again. But this is the NFL. I gotta believe at some point the dogs are going to bark again. It just hasn't happened. All right, Mike Blewett's going to bark a little more with us. We'll hit on Bengals, Vikings, Raiders, Commanders. When we return next, you're watching NewsWire on Sports.
Outside of Portrush, hard to imagine how it gets any better in terms of an individual year for Rory McIlroy. Just such good stuff from him.
Oh, totally. It's, it's kind of wild to me. You just go through that incredible list of venues that he's won at, and then, of course, throw in the Irish Open to be the fourth. It hit hard to believe that he has not won since April. And we talk about this incredible year that he's had.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Who wants to go to Chicago in February for a Super Bowl? Hey, the NFL can host outdoor parties on Lake Michigan. Stop the madness at this point. But now I take a look at the Denver Broncos. Always fun in the Mile High City. Why? Because what a home field advantage. It's at elevation. It's going to be cold. It might snow, and Denver's going to have that advantage. You know what Denver goes? We're going to build a world-class facility that's going to be a dome.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Mike Blewett is back with us for the battle of the backups. It's the Bengals and Vikings. The Vikings, I'm starting to sour on them really big time here, Mike. And I honestly, I look at this line and I'm like, wait a second here. Carson Wentz starting for the Vikings. They did not get a backup quarterback to start the season. And so Wentz is the guy. At least the Bengals have John Browning, who is your Winston. He's going to throw 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, but keep you in the game. Total 42.5. Is it possible, Mike, that the Vikings are like a 3-win team or something? Like, I don't know, man. I'm feeling like this could end up being one of the worst teams in the NFL. I know they like their third string a little bit, but how did they land on Wentz here?
Now, remember, I was just listening to this yesterday, so I have to give credit to Diana Rossini and Ryan Russillo for discussing this to remind everybody, including me, that Daniel Jones was there during the offseason, and Daniel Jones and his constituents really wanted to stay in Minnesota. They liked the relationship with Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell has obviously proven to be really good with quarterbacks and helping to develop them, maybe even fix them in this instance. And they couldn't make that promise to him that he would have a shot at winning the job. They were all in on McCarthy. They were going to commit to him. They let Darnold walk. Jones had to go find his opportunity, which he won very easily in Indianapolis, and now is 2-0 and off to literally an MVP-like start is Daniel Jones, which is not something I ever thought I'd say in my life. How they landed on Wentz, I feel like Carson Wentz is the guy that's never going to go away in this league, Craig. I think he might start 2 games a year for 7 different teams for the next 7 seasons. But what is going to happen to them? I think you're right to doubt them right now. With McCarthy out, even with McCarthy in, the offense has not been consistent, right? They had a great fourth quarter against the Bears. Outside of that, they've done virtually nothing. I think there are lots of defenders on that team that are talented. They need to play like that consistently. Bad first half against the Bears. They let Bijan obviously run wild on them on Sunday. So there needs to be a lot more. I think that the Vikings will level out to be a decent team, but they're probably looking more like 500 than a repeat performance of a year ago, which I frankly didn't anticipate going into the year. So I think they level out, still sniffing around the playoffs. Very tough division, though, and they've already dropped a game that they looked pretty poor in and escaped with a victory against the Bears.
Yeah, very, very weird transactions, I think, for the Vikings, as you mentioned. Good points there that Mike brings up with Daniel Jones being there, too. Okay, so we also know now that Jaden Daniels is potentially not going to play this week. He is out today. He is out on Thursday. If he practices Friday and things go well, then you're getting a bargain at this Commanders -3.5 because then the line's going to be a lot higher. That is definitely the case. But if he doesn't go, this line does feel right. Mike, I continue to maintain you try and help me each and every week figure out the Las Vegas Raiders. This has been going on for decades here. I just have no idea week to week who is going to show up in the silver and black. I mean, I could see the Raiders winning this game by 3 touchdowns, Mike. I could see them losing by 2 touchdowns on Sunday. So for me, I just tend to stay away when it comes to them.
I understand that, and if Mariota plays, we gotta bring everybody out of the mothballs. Like, let's get Jameis a start. Let's get Ryan Tannehill a start. Let's throw some guys out there that we haven't seen in 6 or 7 years, and let's bring all the hits back. Craig, I would say on the Raiders, Geno Smith's numbers historically when he plays outdoors, which he will be playing this weekend, are a pale in comparison to what he does in dome stadiums over the course of his career. That is obviously true for other quarterbacks as well. Jared Goff is one of them, but Geno Smith, there's a very distinct difference in his statistics when he plays outside. There'll be 1 o'clock start, East Coast start, so traveling across the country. I think sometimes those West Coast teams traveling east at 1 p.m. numbers are slightly overrated, and frankly, they're because of what you stated. The Raiders were so bad for so long at 1 o'clock Eastern that it skewed the data to think that everybody was terrible when traveling east. It wasn't really true for the Rams or the Seahawks. It was just true for the Raiders and possibly the Cardinals when they were near the bottom of the league. But I have to go with the Commanders here, but this is more of a stay away game for me. I don't know what the offense will look like with Mariota in. If I'm the Commanders, I am getting Mariota a start and not messing around with Jaden Daniels. Too early in the season, too much on the line for them. For all you Commanders win total holders, I apologize, but I think the mission is greater for them than ripping off 12 wins. They're going to have to find a way to knock off the big dogs in the NFC, and that's the Eagles and the Packers right now.
One of the best games of the week in the NFL has got to be Rams Eagles, 1 o'clock Eastern on Sunday. This is a very big half point, I think, in this game, Mike. Eagles minus 3.5, but I think I've seen some threes. And that does, to me, tell a little bit of the story here. I feel like a 3.5, I would lean toward the Rams. If it was just a 3, maybe the Eagles. I feel like this is going to be a fun, really close game. Both teams playing very well on defense, I should add also. Total 44.5. Wasn't big on the Rams, I got to admit it. Going in, I thought Stafford would go down pretty quickly here, but he's maintained it thus far.
I'm sort of more bullish on the Rams, was and remain bullish on the Rams to an extent. Look, they won that game fairly easily in the second half against the Titans. The first half was kind of fluky with an absolutely highlight reel pass by Cam Ward to tie it before halftime. But they put up 33 points on the road against that Titans team. And now you have the Eagles, who haven't put their foot on the gas pedal offensively yet. The rain delay in week 1 may have created a kind of awkwardness statistically there, but against the Chiefs, a lot of tush push. 11% of their plays have been the tush push on the year so far. So I kind of am leaning towards another Eagles victory, but another low-scoring affair until the Eagles really break out.
Great stuff as always, Mike. We'll catch you on Sunday. Thanks for coming on NewsWire.
Outside of Portrush, hard to imagine how it gets any better in terms of an individual year for Rory McIlroy. Just such good stuff from him.
Oh, totally. It's, it's kind of wild to me. You just go through that incredible list of venues that he's won at, and then, of course, throw in the Irish Open to be the 4th. It hit hard to believe that he has not won since April. And we talk about this incredible year that he's had.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Who wants to go to Chicago in February for a Super Bowl? Hey, the NFL can host outdoor parties on Lake Michigan. Stop the madness at this point. But now I take a look at the Denver Broncos. Always fun in the Mile High City. Why? Because what a home field advantage. It's at elevation. It's going to be cold. It might snow, and Denver's going to have that advantage. You know what Denver goes? We're going to build a world-class facility that's going to be a dome.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We got football tomorrow night, so make sure you tune back in to NewsWire right here as we'll preview the Dolphins and Bills, also get into college football. Got a couple of games Thursday and Friday to review as well, but in this edition of Last Licks, we'll talk about one of my favorite subjects, baseball cards, a brand new card coming out for an oldie but a goodie. Also, the New York Giants have a super fan with a license plate. Get more into that, and also we'll wish happy birthday to one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Yes, I said it. Time now for some last licks. I did not realize that because Shoeless Joe Jackson was on the permanently ineligible list, that meant that the baseball card maker called Topps could not produce cards of Shoeless Joe Jackson. So I guess that also means that Pete Rose had no current cards of him over the last, let's say, 20, 30 years. So now that Joe Jackson is off the permanently ineligible list because he passed away, that's what the commissioner said, because he passed away, so he's eligible to get voted into the Hall of Fame, among some other things. He's also eligible to have a baseball card. So his rookie card is coming out now. How about that? The first ever Shoeless Joe Jackson card is going to be a Bowman Chrome card that will be coming out this year. And for those of you who collect cards, you may be familiar with Bowman. When you have your first card ever with Bowman, they say that it's your first Bowman, and they print that on the card. And so I guess now thinking it through, in the 40s and the 50s, when baseball cards sort of came into prominence, Shoeless Joe Jackson never had one. So now he will. And I'm curious to see what these will actually be worth. I'm guessing probably not as, worth as much as some rookies that are out there. But Joe Jackson, with his first ever card, will be a first Bowman card, which will have a million different parallels. One of 10, one of 100, one of 5,000, one of 10,000, blue, red, white, yellow. That's the way that they do baseball cards these days. All right, now there is a super fan out there that I was not aware of, and the good thing is this is not one of those super fans that's going to get in a lot of trouble, at least for now. A gentleman who basically goes by the name of License Plate Giants fan. This is a fan that goes to Giants games and has license plates around his neck. Now, what happens is, I guess, and I was not aware of this, is that not only does he have a Giants license plate, like in the state of New Jersey or even the state of New York, fans from around the country who go to Giants games bring him license plates of their Giants fandom from all over the country and all over the world. And then what he does is he'll pick a random license plate to wear around his neck as a medallion during Giants games as well. Had no idea. This is Frank, our producer. He knew about this guy. I had never heard about him before. I thought it was a pretty cool story. You can read about it more on social media, and also the Asbury Park Press. They posted this story about him. So if, for example, you're from Nebraska and you're a Giants fan, your license plate says Giants fan, something like that, you end up going to a Giants game, I guess you hand over your license plate to this guy, and then he puts it maybe around his neck at a Giants game. And by the way, apparently doesn't wear just one, like brings a bunch to the games, and throughout the games just keeps changing them. But I'm guessing that nothing has worked. Oh, he wears a chain. Okay, so that's how it works. Thank you, Luke. So 5 at a time, Luke says. Next Giants game I go to, I'll make sure I don't know many Giants fans. Actually, I do know a pretty big Giants fan here in South Florida. Owns a restaurant. Okay. Sorry, Luke. All right, finally, Patrick Mahomes is having a tough go of it in the NFL lately, right? He's lost 3 straight games. Is that accurate? Going back to the Super Bowl and then the first 2 games of the season? So Mahomes today, ahead of this week's game, they could go 0-3, by the way, this week. I think it's possible. Mahomes is now 30 years old in the National Football League, but unlike a lot of 30-year-old quarterbacks in the history of the league, here are some of the things that he's accomplished. 3-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time Super Bowl MVP, 2-time NFL MVP, 6-time Pro Bowler, and first-team All-Pro, and he's only 30 years old. Mahomes is going to shatter every statistic in the history of the NFL for quarterback. I don't know that I can count on him winning all those championships like Tom Brady, but at 30 years old, knowing that he's going to play at least 10 more years, you would think he has a shot. Happy birthday, Patrick Mahomes. That'll do it for our show today. Thanks to our guests, Michael DeCourcy, Sam McQuillan, Simon Applebaum, and Mike Blewett. Thanks, of course, to our director, Luke, and from my producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. We'll be back for our Thursday edition of NewsWire at noon Eastern tomorrow. We'll preview the game between the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins, and also bring in, of course, Paul Stone to talk some college football and get you ready for the weekend ahead as well. Have a great rest of your day. See you tomorrow for our next edition of NewsWire.